How can two people come here in this beautiful sanctuary and experience that beautiful worship service, but then at the end have very different experiences through what happened? Or how can two people face the same difficulties but make very different conclusions out of it? How can two people love each other with the same passion, now that we're celebrating Valentine's Day, but then later have a very different experience through marriage, or even difficulty through marriage? How can two people be given the two same opportunities, but then produce two very different results? I guess the question is, what makes the difference? Is it in the past? Maybe your past decides so much for you in your present? Is it the culture? Is it your social status? Is it faith? Is it church? Maybe parents or siblings or family experiences. What makes such differences? Well, this is the first thing that I want you to realize, that when I'm saying what makes a difference, that is different from what makes the difference. The things that I just mentioned, yes, because they bring such influence from the outside world into the inner being, that they do make a difference. Past will make a difference. Culture will make a difference. Your faith will make a difference. Even parents or siblings or friends, those will make a difference, but they're not the difference maker. That's what I want you to think on. Let me give you an example about a tree. When I go to a park and you walk around, my boys will ask, Dad, is that a fruit tree, or what are the fruits? And I have to tell them, no, that's not a fruit tree. So we call them a standard tree, okay? So, but here's the thing. Both of these trees, a standard tree and a fruit tree, receive the same sun. They have the same soil. They're in the same environment. They go through the same seasons. Just one of them brings forth fruit, the other one doesn't. And I tell them what makes the difference. Because everything that takes place in the outside world, those are difference makers, but they are not the difference maker. Likewise is true in our lives. Did you know God gave you such talents that you just take them for granted? You think you have them, but they're given to you. When God created us, He gave us a command. He gave us a blessing. He said, be fruitful and multiply. So that capacity, that talent is in every one of us. My problem is when we allow these differences that come our way, influences, to make a difference, which becomes an excuse to stop being fruitful. And we say, you know what, I don't have it in me. That's not true. Maybe I was not created for this. That is not true. Maybe my past, maybe my family, maybe that experience, maybe whatever happened did not or does not allow me to produce. That is not true. Yes, those things have an influence on you, but they are not the ones who make a decision who you're supposed to be, who you are, and who you can be. God has that. So when you experience church, do not allow the volume to say, you know what, because of the volume, I can't experience God's presence. That's not true. Or when you go through life or training or work, you say, you know what, because of the lack of discipline in my childhood, now I can't even carry a job. That is not true. Those things make a difference, but they are not the difference makers. So what is this difference maker? You know, Paul is writing a letter. Paul is an amazing, outspoken Christian that has so much to say from the Lord to the church, to the members, to his disciples. And when he's writing to the Christians in Colossae, what we know as the book of Colossians, he said, the Bible says that it was him writing. It says that this greeting is by my own hand, says Paul. And then he's writing this group of Christians from prison. It says, remember my chains. And so I'm thinking, listen, Why are you writing a letter when your hands are in chain, you're sitting in a prison? You have every reason not to. You have every reason to say, these things made the difference for me to go quiet and not share my faith, not to produce any more fruits. But he's a complete opposite. Because he knows that these things can make a difference. Yeah, it's hard, hardships. But they're not going to stop me because they're not the difference maker. So I want to read from his letter, Colossians chapter 3, few verses. It says, if then you were raised with Christ, Christians, then seek those things which are above, where Christ is sitting at the right hand of God. Verse 2 says, set your mind on things above, not the things on the earth. Verse 10 says, listen, have put on the new man, who is renewed in knowledge according to the image of him who created him. Paul is saying, no matter what happens around you, what makes the difference is, where is your mind set? Not wandering around, but set. Set means it has been decided. It's set. You know, you have presets on channels, radio, whatever. This is set. It's there. Things can change around, but this is not changing. And Paul says, as Christians, you and I, our mind must be set on the things above, not the earth. Because now that we are born again, we have this opportunity to grow and be fruitful and multiply in God's grace, through God's grace. But what we do is make these little things to say, no, they make a difference, so I'm going to stop. You're not supposed to stop. You should not stop. What makes the difference in your life is what God has spoken, what God has said about you, and especially what God has placed in you. Today's Friday. Your day is starting. So, are you going to let things around you to make a difference to stop you? To steal your joy, to distract you from what God has for you? Or, listen, I get it, these things are influences, but my mind is set on the things above, in the image of God, in the knowledge of God. And that is the difference maker. You heard that? So guard your heart from these things. Give it to God and say, Lord, doesn't matter what comes my way. What makes the difference is what you have spoken about me. So that's an attitude of a Christian that Paul had in the middle of a prison. Hands are chained, but he says he's still preaching, he's still writing, he's still multiplying God's kingdom. Would you do that? So remember, a difference is not the same then, the difference. And who makes the difference in your life is God alone. God only can do that. So enjoy that relationship with God and continue with your life for His glory. God bless you.